pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, call meeting order. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for August 27th.
I'll second that.
Hey, all in favor?
Aye. I've read and I'll approve the minutes for the August 20th meeting.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Meeting 10, please. Sean?
Met with Red Lion again on the solar last week. He informed me that after speaking with REC that they probably won't be able to set or combine the power at the jail. It's gonna have to say separated for whatever reason. He gave this long reason, and it's mainly because of REC. So it's still gonna be two separate deals, and the solar panels will probably be two separate things. So
They might be metered separately.
yeah, and I said, I guess it really didn't necessarily matter to us, but do what you gotta do. So he's moving forward on that. Adam has the contract. He's reviewing it. I haven't heard anything from him yet, but I'm assuming he looked over the contract for Wapello and for the school. So he's gonna take our contract and compare them and make sure there's nothing different, but my assumption is it's boilerplate. So I also talked to Adam regarding the emergency service taxes that we're going to have a meeting on, and got his input. While he won't exactly come out and tell me exactly what we should do, which is, I think, an attorney thing, he indicated that it might be best if we provided some sort of a list that corresponds with the state on what we can use the tax money for, and that the ambulance services would forward their receipts to us and we reimburse them. So whatever that list was of all the things that were acceptable, they would incur those costs and then bring them to us, and then that tax would refund that amount. I asked him, that I thought it sounded like a lot of work, but I guess in this world, what isn't work? The only other thing, he said it probably wouldn't be a good idea just to hand them money.
No.
We need some checks and balances here, and that's probably the best way.
And I could see his point on putting out what they could spend the money on, because what we would hate as supervisors to get a bill that wasn't in that.
Right.
Bought something that they should have.
Then the auditors catch it somewhere, and then we gotta ask for the money back, or
Yeah.
it's better to be upfront, I think, and have a
I kind of see
acceptable
where he's
list.
coming at, yeah.
So I did talk to Louisa County, or Mark Houston, about that shortly after that meeting, and he didn't really act like that was a huge deal, but we need to, or I probably need to get this list put together of all the acceptable things so that we can get that approved before we have our meeting. We're gonna have it after Labor Day, so sometime in September. So that's in the works. I gave Susan the list for the bids on, or the spec on the roof for the jail. I assume we have to post that a couple of weeks. Do we want to set I haven't. Do we need to set a date that we want the bids back by?
Let's just look at that, maybe
End of September?
17th, does that give you 2 weeks?
Because if we get it in the newspaper, it won't go in the newspaper till the 4th, basically.
Right.
And then the next week.
So unless they have to be the 24th to give the full 2 weeks.
Mhm.
So say the 24th. Actually, maybe have the bids in by the 23rd by 5 o'clock to the auditor.
Yep,
So that they're available to be opened on the 24th.
yep.
Okay, let's make that. I have an early childhood meeting tonight. I'll report on that next time. I got a call from a citizen that said that the last supervisors meeting wasn't downloaded online.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, he said he couldn't.
I watched
find it. Okay, he said he couldn't find it, so I'll make sure he understands that. I think that's it. Seems like there was one other thing. Oh, I have to meet with Jacob today, 3 o'clock on the property. That the conservation is gonna sell. So we're gonna kind of get the proper procedure out and get it in public notices and whatnot, so. With Adam's help, of course, we'll have to get that going, so we're meeting this afternoon at 3 o'clock on that. That's all I got.
Okay.
I got a letter from people in Twosboro not happy with the way it's being mowed and trimmed around the museum and stuff. The letter is going to the conservation board members. It's their problem, right? Or, you know.
Okay.
And the after I get to the detour, Des Moines County's whole part of the detour got treated for dust control. And that was a mistake by the DOT and the contractor. And it sounds like ours might be open yet this week. Or the K road. Talking with Adam here a little bit ago.
How would it be a mistake to do dust control?
Well, Louisa County didn't get none, and Des Moines County's got the road got done completely from Des Moines County line clear to 61.
Did they squeal louder than we did?
No, it was a mix up between the contractor and the dust control person.
Interesting.
And he says, I can make that mistake once, but when Adam called to have it done in Louisa County, he says, I can't make that mistake twice or I'll get in trouble. So, but everybody was truthful about it. That's all I got.
Okay, anything else? That's it?
And we're mowed out there to the landfill of Carroll. Looks good. Went out, walked went out there sometime last week. And they got that mowed, we walked it, and now we have to do several repairs that they sent us to do. And this is all from the spring, so with the weather and the rains, and we didn't want to make it worse, but it really looks good with the mowed, no trees. That was one of the things that started to get little seedlings on it. We had like 11 spots that we had fixed. It's from the gases coming up through the landfill, killing the grass, so we reseeded and put some dirt over top of it. Looking good, so we get done, then we'll get a letter drawn up, send it to our inspection agency and to the DNR. They can come through and approve it for this year and start for next year, but no, it really looks good. We came a long ways. We don't have any water leaking out. We don't have pooling. It's probably the best it's looked since I've been on. It's got no dips now, so it's starting to maybe settle out a little bit. Hopefully it continues to do so, and we'll be good. The other thing you did, transfer station, still trying to get a wall. Contacted some attorneys at Plymouth Junction. I can't remember his name, but the ones that took over the two Washington firms. One they've been in here.
There's a Parsons.
Parsons. How to forget that? But anyway, we're gonna try to get the legal where we can get set up for. Make sure we have our I's dotted, T's crossed for getting a loan on the trailer, Mac trailer, so taking all of our savings that we have to buy it over time, and then in 5 years, the next board, and then buy another one, trade the other one off. But Looking good, and we get some other things that we need legal, obviously, just every time once in a while, the DNR something comes up with that, so we wanted to get one and retain her. Sure, but we had community action meeting. And things are running really good, helping a lot of folks, elderly and kiddos. I'll think of it. That's it.
Have we done anything on LP tank on inspection?
I talked to him about it and also talked to him, that was the other thing, gas. I called him again yesterday to see if they had any bids on prices, but I will, once I talk to Justin, Justin's on it.
Thanks.
Man, no.
But
It's a little hot to be painting the tank right now, but
it's
it
gonna
will
be
cool off, and we got that little window to get it painted before it gets too cold, so.
Okay, well, welcome back. Here's your work.
I just want to go out there. I imagine we might have to evacuate the tank. We just did that 2 or 3 years ago. Gonna do what we're gonna do. Okay, public.
I have a couple things. Susan, I would like to be on the agenda next week. I have some questions about the financial statement. I would like to ask the board. I thought it might be safe to ask to be put on the agenda at this meeting. The other thing, Sean, are you gonna have an auction for that, or are you gonna sell that like they sold that road down in Elric and just?
They indicated that they wanted to sell the property, not necessarily give it away. They
But
wanted-
auction, it'll be an auction type thing or not? What's the law say on it?
I don't know that, but I'll find out.
It's county property, and I thought it might have to be auctioned rather
Yeah,
than just
it
pick
can-
somebody out and
yeah.
sell it to them.
It needs to be public auction. I don't know who else.
I mean, I want them
bid
to
on
get it, don't get me wrong, but there is a legal way of doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, did you guys ever see an income statement of how much the county takes in every month?
Yeah, I just got it on the truck.
Okay. Is that something you can share, or is that?
We could share everything.
Okay.
Nothing stops
All right,
here.
I'd like to see those sometime, what we get of every
It's on
time.
my truck right now.
Okay, maybe after the meeting, I get a copy of it, if you don't mind. Cause I mean, nobody knows how much that is that I know of, but anyway, thank you.
Not enough.
That's right. You're exactly right. We need more economic development.
Yeah, I agree.
Somebody to do
Agree.
it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yeah, just good time. How you doing this morning?
All right. We've been busy out there on the roads, I guess. Got the patch and should have concrete done, it's kind of in front of your house there. What we think happened is when the road was moved to the north, they put on a box extension, right? There was an existing box there and they put on a new box. And the two didn't fit together quite right, and so when water gets in the road, it gets under there and it freezes and thaws on top of that box. So we, and then water was also getting in between two boxes and eroding the inside of it. So what we did, we went there and we excavated down to the top of the box and patched over top of it, and then Deb and I dug some holes and put some rock in there, and hopefully that'll allow any water gets on that box to get out to the side. I don't know, we'll see how it works. It's difficult when there's only this much rock on top of a big box, right? Because it's subject to freezing thaw. So anyway, we patch it and we're hoping it'll do better than in the past, so. So that'll be done today. Good thing that's done because the DOT is probably gonna hand out H22 open on Thursday. Is the plan. So I talked to the inspector this morning and they are hoping to get concrete today and hopefully to get it open on Thursday. So I'll make some posts once I'm sure, once I get it okay from the DOT, I'll make some posts to have it open there to let the public know that it's open. There has been we're putting up 25 mile per hour speed limit signs to keep traffic down. We have talked to Brandon about enforcing it, at least beginning pretty hard. If people are speeding through there, they are gonna get tickets written. During the old setup, there were signs and we had people, I don't know if they're from here, or truckers driving through or whatever, but they were going too fast and moving this plate thing and. I mean, there's quite a bit of trucks that are gonna go across that road, so. We all need to do the best we can to be safe and all that, so. I appreciate the DOT, helping to push it along. Got some help now, and so I think we're fortunate to have it done, so.
Yep.
So, I agree.
I think you can count on Brandon for coming through with speed reduction. We went through Wyman the other day, and the first time I've ever seen a Louisa County deputy sitting at Wyman to slow traffic down, so they're stepping it up.
Yep, so. Yeah. So, that's what's going on there. I met with the contractor. Excuse me. On the Highway 92 project on Thursday. They've got a bunch of extra dirt, like 100,000 yards of extra dirt, are hauling it here and there and everywhere. So, I talked to them about putting some on W Avenue. I don't know if you know where that is. 92. It's that little half-mile gravel and then turns to dirt. And the dirt goes down to some pretty big ravines. So, they are gonna have some extra dirt and we'll put that on the road for us and move it out for free. So it's just making little improvements here and there when we can, you know, so things like that. So they're doing that. The guys are out mowing. Getting there should be everything mowed up. So it'll be someone if we have to do it again or not. That depends on the weather. We're gonna be hauling some rock and things like that for the rest of the week. The office got our asphalt plans are on the DOT bidding systems. So that's good. We're kind of switching over and doing some of their preliminary design on Highway 99 in Oakville and working on the K Road Bridge as well. So working on some things here and there. So, any questions from me or anything?
On the end of the Highway 92 is all tore up to Wheelies.
Yeah,
I got a mess down there.
they are going to try to first, second week of September. They're gonna start paving from interchange on 218 east.
Wow.
They think they can go a half-mile a day, full width, which that's 2 driving lanes and paved shoulders, all in one pot.
Wow.
So that's their plan. And they're hoping to get to Wheelies and all that by the end of the year. There will be a period in October where they'll use the south detour, which is W66 and White Way and rounding through Columbus. And that's gonna be a mess, but they're thinking they can get the concrete all the way to Wheelies done and then that north turn and everything to go up to Act 17 done before the end of the year. I guess it's stay warm and dry like this, anything's possible. If it reverts back to wet and cool, then it's possible. So anyway, hopefully we get that done, and or not we get that done. Hopefully that gets done, so we're back on the new road before winter, and hopefully things will be safer and better than so.
Just in time to throw salt down on it.
I don't know. I know. So,
No, not salt. They use that chemical now, sorry.
yeah.
It's better.
Actually, I went to the ISAC conference Thursday in Des Moines, drove out, turned around, drove back, and they there was some discussion about different counties and different ways of doing salt and stuff like that. A lot of counties bigger than us are going to like a brine mixture, using pure salt, and then they got a premix around the truck, and it puts out a little bit of water with it. Benefits of that are a little less usage of materials and maybe a little better reaction. But the cost to add those to the trucks and all that makes it very, very difficult to do, so. Was the guy from Dallas County was there. And so, you know, he was talking, he said, yeah, we've had a lot of growth. I looked on the internet in 1990, they had 30,000 people. And now they have 100,000 people in 30 years. So like, yeah, you've had a lot of growth, so.
What caused that?
Being county adjacent to Des Moines helps. That's Waukee and Adel and all that area, so.
People living there and commuting to Des Moines.
The west is where.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do to promote this county,
So,
or the supervisors need to do it.
other than that,
Never stop.
other than that, I don't have any real thing, but I did want to hear about the change to the handbook and then the report thing, if you have time to talk about that, so.
It's on the agenda.
Anything else, Adam?
Nothing.
That 100,000 extra on that road, isn't that lower than normal?
What?
That 100,000 yards extra on that road, isn't that lower than normal?
Yes, I would say if I was the engineer and I was off by that much, I would be questioning. Some of the input to make that decision, I guess.
I'm just saying, that's not a couple of dump trucks.
No,
That's the size of the amount of dirt.
yeah, a lot of that dirt's gonna go up to that washout station up on 70, and much of it's gonna come to us, and I think Lancer's got some, and just. I don't know.
Dirt that come off the road?
Borrow. They lowered the grade of the road somewhat. And I think, so when you do it, you estimate cut and fill, right? And you apply a certain factor, you assume you use 30% of that in shrinkage. And sometimes when that doesn't happen, you know, if you have really, really good dirt, it doesn't shrink as much, so. I mean, sometimes it happens, that seems like a very high number, but again, I don't know the full extent of it, but. Never.
Thank you.
You'd think lowering the road would be a mistake.
This around here.
Well, they're cutting through the hill, yeah.
Yeah, cut through the hill there.
So there's where they go. Tracy had me in there with us.
Oh, okay. But Brian was in the back. I didn't know if he was with you or not.
No.
And Randy to answer that little snip in the back.
But what's the snip is the fact.
I work every day trying to grow this county. I'm on 2 development boards every day.
What have you done to get it grow it? What's happened?
We're trying our best to make it grow. It just, you can't build it and they will come. It's something that takes a lot of planning and a lot of work. We meet usually once a week and volunteer and try to grow it. And so I appreciate your
maybe you ought to
thoughts.
maybe you ought to
Not
talk to
church.
these people in what county was that, Adam? That grew from 30 to 100.
Well, Des Moines, we just built down here. We can grow.
Dallas
Dallas County. I should talk to the people in Dallas looking at their expanding county. What direction are we headed? Are we looking for more manufacturing or more residential area?
Both. But we gotta have houses, and the biggest thing is we got the highways are changing, and that's gonna bring hopefully more economic growth.
So I'm gonna add something in, whether it's Louisa County or any other small county, I would say there's all state policies which, put the favoritism towards certain types of industries and development and all that, and so not all these guys can have fingers on a lot of things, so.
How many times, Brad, have you met with Debbie Durham on things for Louisa County?
Probably one time I've met her. But Southeastern Regional Planning, I'm on that board, we're working constantly to grow this whole, we're not the only county that's having problems.
Okay, I just want to know, I mean, she's our
Probably
state
90
economic development
counties in this state.
lady, and I just wondered if you met with her on a regular basis or any of the other supervisors have, Chris, and you know, huh?
I met with her, I was on.
Have you gotten any progress on that, or?
You're getting smart now. Brian,
So I would realize that I'm the guy at the end of the month. And I'm, well, nobody's before or after me, so all that my notes get taken into.
I was before you, I got warmed up.
All my notes get into the paper. But anyway, for emergency management, we're in between severe storm seasons and that's good. We were blessed by missing a few storms, that's great. We're looking ahead to the severe weather coming up, and of course it'd be winter, and that's far away, but I wanna try to do a better job. We had that big snowfall last year. And you will remember that you and I were at his office, and 2 or 3 days into the storm. But what I caught out of that, the common denominator was that every time I talked to a fire chief or one of the cities, that, well, they've been in touch with that, well, they've been in touch with that. I had to sense that out of the phone was ringing off the wall. So I wanted to try to say, should we just have a morning briefing during those bad days? And by that time, we already passed the storm, so it was kind of like a non-event. But I want to offer that next time to save your phone from blowing up. We just had a 9 o'clock briefing on those bad snow days. Don't think about looking ahead.
Yeah. It could be necessary, I don't necessarily feel it was, because I feel like we had a pretty good handle on things. There is a gap though, I think there is a need for, like, we can plow the roads, but that doesn't mean that people can get to the roads, and we had some shortcomings there, I think, with a lot of people in the rural areas who needed medicine, who needed to get their kids to the doctors or whatever, and our typical is if you live in rural, you should have the equipment to get yourself to the road, but that doesn't always happen. People rent homes out there, and maybe they don't have the vehicle to do it, or their husband is an over the road truck driver, I think is one issue. So there's definitely a gap between the services we provide and what they can do, and there's definitely room for those kind of things too, so.
Yeah, and those kind of people call him first. And so the point would be, the way I kind of handled by the time I got that information was to circle back around to the city fire chief, who knows the area and also knows everybody has snow removal equipment for the building. And by the time I would get there, the problem had already been solved in every single case. But by just having a briefing every morning, by the time we circled around, yeah, we could see the forecast, yep, he could predict man hours. We'll punch through by this date and the snow will be better. But if it got worse, we'd have to start having some discussions. So I think we at least practice that, come up the first snow or so. And that way, during those morning meetings, we can start talking about those people and the case, individual cases that are coming up. We'll hope for better though. So also in emergency management, we had that Canadian Pacific response exercise scheduled for September 11th. Using the Fredonia access, and we were going to simulate a problem on the bridge with the train. We were going to deploy a new system out in the river, containment system, but that got canceled. So then we're going to shoot for it's called a response 301 training with the train company. We'll put a locomotive and a couple cars down probably on the Mid-America Energy spur and do some training right there. But by the time now we would get that scheduled, it would be in the fall, and we got guys out in the field harvest. So probably plan that for the spring, which probably won't be much easier, but we're looking for the springtime for that.
Brian, have you heard when they're planning on rolling that up? I know Canada's having a striker out at the railroad, but
Is that, when's that gonna go up to the trains expected? Have you heard anything more?
Well, so they're supposed to be starting to increase by now. The minor increase in traffic, and I think I mentioned to the board once before where the difference I have seen are the intermodal traffic, and that's so those containers that come off the ocean ships, they go on the back of semis or stack them on trains and they move. And so I've seen an increase in that traffic. It's easy to see because the train goes by and it's all orange containers going by. And when we had a training last year, and he talked about the increase in that intermodal traffic, was that could be mostly vegetables and such as that coming from Mexico. So we hope that's true too, but there was a.
Come on in, have a seat.
So I haven't noticed a daily increase by any means yet. I guess people live in Letts and Columbus Junction could tell you more, but I haven't seen it to where it's been a disruption in crossover traffic. The 911 world, in the world of ISIX, the radio communication system, we have what's called our top groups that's been approved, and we have those established at the state of Iowa. So law enforcement and fire and medical will have a top group that they can chat on and share, but they also, each one of those entities will have an encrypted channel so that everybody with the scanner can't listen in. So if they wanted to move their radio traffic to an encrypted channel, that would be secure. So where we're at right now is probably 2/3 of the sheriff's department is ISIX compatible, ready to go. So all they have to do is program those radios. So several months ago, I told him we're looking for an affordable solution to move into that interoperability affordably, and that's what we've done. I'm taking baby steps to that. But there will still be that big ticket someday. We have to replace the radios out of the dispatch. That'd be expensive ticket. Then in the world of safety, you'll see that's your next agenda item as well. Just want to tell you about, we had our annual visit from workers' comp, IMWCA. And every time they come, they give us, after the visit discussion, they give us areas for improvement, and they always give us 4. And I'll briefly just go over them. One of them will require your attention. So the first one was to establish a countywide policy which holds employees accountable for safety violations. Well, that is already an existing policy in our safety manual. So that's just a matter of clip, cut, paste, that's been done. Then all employees need to be re-educated on county seatbelt policy. And they really already have, because when that was brought up to us last year about seatbelts, everyone did additional training. If the policy was already in our safety manual again, and then when you guys adopted in 2023, everybody signed for a new safety manual. So everybody got that information then twice. So that's easy though. I just sent the form out to everybody, and they sent those back, with the exception of the sheriff's office, who claims for Iowa code, there are times when they cannot use their seatbelt. If they're in quick pursuit, or they need to bail out, they need to move quickly or something. Supposedly there's an Iowa code that allows that. So I haven't heard that code yet, but I haven't seen it. But they have not signed their piece of that form. And also though, another Iowa code is that, probably because their unit is that the sheriff's the one that can discipline them, not really the county per se, but through the sheriff's office, they do the disciplinary on that. Oh, so then another one was reestablish the county monthly safety meetings. And probably just like a lot of the meetings that you guys go to, you have trouble getting quorums, attendance, and those kind of things. Safety meetings were turning out to be the same way, with less than half attendance. So I went to the department several times just to talk to each department head individually, talk about some important pieces of that. But they want us to have a monthly safety meeting, so that's just easy to put it on the calendar, have a quick meeting, and just go over what's new and improved. But the last one there, adopt and implement a written return to work policy, which I didn't find in any of our manuals. So working with Paul Groff, and you guys might have a copy of that policy, job modified agreement. So he offered that as template, but seemed pretty simple and to the point. Really what it is that says if an employee were to have a work-related injury, then finally the doctor released them back to work under an alternate, adjusted work performance of, in other words, light duty or something like that, that the county would offer them some kind of an alternate job, light duty. And that this says they have an option to not come back and work under those conditions, but that this statement just says that we offered it to them, the light duty work. So that's all that is. I want to make that.
I have a comment on that. You know, often we've all been through these HR meetings where it was expressed to us that we absolutely do not accommodate non-work injuries here at work. I have withheld many of my guys to that standard. Many guys have had to take a lot of time off for that. I feel like if we were gonna make such a change, we should have brought that up in the forum, that we could all at least look at it. I guess from this process to the HR guy to the board without talking to us, to me, is not the way things should be ran. I can support this. I have no idea what's in it, but if you're gonna ask us to implement this, we should have had some sort of meeting discussion. I mean,
We can't.
well, you're already getting it to the board to get it approved though.
Well, okay, please stop it.
I assumed that this was a work related, since it was work comp related, and it would be work related
I don't know.
issues,
I
not non-work related.
Oh,
This is first we've heard about him seeing those sort of.
you can table it, you can table it. I just.
Well, the questions I have is Paul, has he approved our whole policy? He's gotta sign off on anything that we do anyway, and just legally. So that was one question I was gonna ask, and another thing I agree is I wanna make sure that it's crystal clear. On our policies, and I don't want any clouds over top of it. This does not say anything about an outside area that I can see on. I've read it twice now, so I wanna make sure that we have it crystal clear.
You don't have to prove it today, look it over, mull it over, run by the
That
state.
was my plan.
I'm just bringing it to your attention, this is what.
Yeah,
Paul-
no,
Run it by everybody.
thank you, but no, I
The
gotta
more
make
eyes,
sure
the
Paul
better.
signs it.
Sometimes.
I'm gonna get up on my high horse here for a little again too. Again, why wasn't this discussed with the department heads? I mean, we have to implement these things.
Well, you were at the meeting when.
No,
At IMWCA when she was there.
I never seen this before.
Right, but when she said we needed to have that policy, this is what came out of that.
Right, but you should,
Okay, all right.
we who have to deal with these people and do all this, we should, there should have been a step before it came, I guess, is what I'm saying. And I would have brought this for private, but I didn't know about it until now, so.
That's all I got otherwise.
But I would like to ask this on Paul, make sure that,
Well, Paul's the one that gave it to me. So,
well, just the top page. This page,
yep,
has he signed off on all of these?
that's the one I offered was this. Whenever all the.
Didn't you say that we did 4 changes?
I don't know anything about it. I'm just talking about that top page.
Okay, 'cause I have all this right here, and I just wanna make sure,
That was recommended by IM.
That's from.
but still gotta go through our HR. Yeah. So,
I thought Paul wrote this, right?
And that's all I presented down to what the rest of the stuff is you had there.
well, we
Background.
have. And I just wanna make sure.
It's a letter from them, the recommendations that we need to follow.
That's
Right.
fine.
But nothing's been changed in this back. Okay.
No, this
Was
was
Paul,
all recommended.
But this, as I read it, is a vast difference than what Paul has told us in the past.
Yeah.
So
That's the way I.
when we make a vast change, there should have been some discussion like what fostered this change and stuff like that, so. Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Brian, on that? Thank you.
All I got.
Thank you. And so on that, that's gonna go to Paul, and then we ought to have Paul for discussion. Two department heads, and kind of run by it and make sure that this goes through.
Discussion of department heads with.
Yeah, and then when it becomes 30, and then I'll talk to them directly, also too, but I just wanted to say that. You guys have any other questions or anything you guys wanna add to that?
Should we formally table
Yes, was formally.
it? I'll make a motion to table it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Both of those.
Okay.
And we're waiting on Edwin.
So that fateful table was on item 8 on that. agenda.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I agree. I don't know if this is being pushed by the work comp people. I can see trying to get them off work comp and making allowances to work, but if they're out playing soccer and break their leg, that's not on us
Yeah.
to make allowances. I mean, if they're an important employee and you wanna do that, that's fine, but we shouldn't have to do that.
I've been here 7 years and up until now, it's always been the policy that we do not accommodate non-work injuries.
Yeah.
We've had guys with shoulder surgeries or stomach issues or whatever else, and we've always been like, you need to
Figure it out.
there's no such thing as light duty.
Right.
For a non-work injury. And obviously that changes because, our jobs are. different
Yeah, well,
than-
absolutely,
Than other people's jobs.
Yeah, if the girl in the treasurer's office broke her arm, she could probably still sit there and do something else, but
But
if you
if
broke your
you-
leg, you're not gonna drive a dump truck.
Yeah, so.
And you're not gonna go sit in the office and answer phones. We have people for that.
Yeah, I agree, and I just wish,
Yeah.
I'm really.
I get it.
My anger, or not anger, my
I get it.
disgruntledness is that this was discussed after years of hearing it together.
I agree. It should have went a different direction, but we'll fix it.
Okay.
No problem.
That's a great, apply it consistently, other than that, it gets to be in the middle.
John, you wanna see?
Out on the job. It's not.
Community action? Oh, no. Okay.
Easiest way.
Too much.
I got enough of that packet straight. I don't need any more. So Adam's coming to talk to us about this Port Authority thing.
Yes.
Is that it? Okay.
How you folks today?
Good,
Yeah.
great, thank you.
Robert, last time I was around here, we called you Colonel.
I know, I got my first name back after I retired, so. I'm just,
Did Adam have a specific time?
Nine.
Okay.
Somebody has a cell phone that I can text them.
Here, he doesn't have anything else to do.
I texted him, I'll see, I'll just call him, see if he.
Who's that comment? No, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Paul definitely needs to. Be the one involved.
Yeah.
It sounds like Adam's in court and he didn't think he was needed.
Okay,
He can come over after he's done with court.
didn't think it's gonna be very long.
I don't know, I think that's probably 9:30, so.
Okay, 15 minutes gonna. Okay, you guys good?
You want to go through the PowerPoint and-
We can listen to what he has to say, and then when Adam shows up, we can.
Yeah.
Ask Adam questions.
That's good.
So, what I, have given this presentation now to everyone, all the counties and the 6 counties in eastern Iowa, so this is you're the last one for me to, come and visit. But what I want to do is, just talk to you about getting recertified as a board. And it's really up to the counties to determine whether or not you guys want to do that or not, or whether you see value in it. Next slide. So really, what we're gonna ask is that you guys pass a resolution that recertifies the ports of eastern Iowa as a U.S. port. I think they've seen a copy of the resolution.
Yeah.
And then, then why we think, and that's a collective we, that being recognized as a nationally and globally significant rural, regional, multimodal inland port unlocks economic development opportunities. Next slide. So in the 1st of August 2019, long story, but a reporter called from the Waterways Journal called the CEO of the Quad City Chamber of Commerce at the time, Paul Rumler, and said, "Hey, Paul, we'd like to do an article on the port of the Quad Cities," and we didn't have one. And so Paul goes, "I don't think we have a port." So then he put him in contact with, he thought I might know something about it. I was had retired from the Corps of Engineers and was doing something else at the time, but I told Paul, I said, "Let me talk to the reporter." And I told David Murray, the reporter, I said, "You ought to do an article on the potential of creating one, because we don't have that." He did a wonderful article, but this was the article at that link, but it really made sense to actually create a port here for a lot of reasons. Next slide. And so we created an organization called the Corn Belt Ports, and our whole purpose is just protect the integrity of the our part of the global supply chain, raise the area's profile so we can attract more investment. And then there is an positive identity aspect of just being able to say you're part of the ports of eastern Iowa. It does have sway inside the Beltway and, with the Department of Transportation and others if you're a U.S. port. And there is, and this is our phrase, but there is such a thing as a home port's advantage. I mean, if we're focusing on our home port, that it can help in a lot of other economic development ways. Next slide. But we always had waterways here. People were always talking about the Mississippi River as a waterway. There was no question in anyone's mind that the upper Mississippi River didn't exist as a nationally significant waterway. But to totally unlock all the opportunities, we've got to have ports too that are part of the equation. So it's the other half of the equation, and we just didn't have ports for a lot of reasons. Part of it is culturally, I grew up in the Illinois, central Illinois, but it's just a Midwestern culture. It's like, hey, why create a government entity if you don't need one, type of thing. And everybody thought ports were some you know, where it would cause, you know, just be more government intrusion or potential taxing authority and things like that, but we are on the court that the resolution that we're passing, that we're asking you to take a look at passing today is, it doesn't have any taxing authority. We're minimalist when it comes to government, you know, government perspective. So we want the minimum amount of government possible, just to meet the minimum requirements to be classified as a port. But by pushing the local ports and the waterways together, it does increase opportunities. Since the Corn Belt ports were created and after this article came out in 2019, we've attracted over $2 billion in infrastructure from a wide variety of sources, federal sources. So it's been, we've taken just for comparison in the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act in 2009, that during the Obama administration, when they were trying to invest money in infrastructure, we received nothing. I mean, over nothing here, but it went elsewhere in the nation. So we anticipated there would be an bipartisan infrastructure law again, a bill again, bringing in some money, so we didn't want to miss out again. So that's why we made a big push to put the ports in place. Next slide. So then you've heard about some of you have heard about the Navigation Ecosystem Sustainability Program, but we actually got it started. It'd been on the books since 2007. Didn't get never received a construction dollar. And we were able to get ENAS off and running. It included 1,200, I mean, a new 1,200 foot lock that got started at Locking M25, you know, sort of fish passage at Locking M22, a lot of other smaller projects. But this kind of help, creating the ports help get that funded and that started. So that's a multi-billion-dollar effort over decades now that it's finally got started. Next slide. And then they also the Corn Belt ports are a champion for other regional programs. The Upper Mississippi River Restoration Program, it's been around since 1986, but we want to make sure that common sense and reasonable ecosystem restoration projects are delivered to. Next slide. But and we actually followed the rules and created a port as a result of that initiative that began in 2019 after that article came out. But in 2020, our regional port, which includes 6 counties, handle as much tonnage as the Port of Miami, which is pictured in the lower picture. So 8.4 million tons. They both had 8.4 million tons. So that's nationally significant. If you go around and say, hey, you're part of your port that's the same size as the Port of Miami, that says something something about the region that a lot of people don't appreciate or understand. So next slide. So in 2019, this is what the port world looked like in the United States. All the little blue polygons. There are the ports that were federally recognized as U.S. ports, and we had nothing in our region. Next slide. And then in 2020 and between 2020 and 2022, everything in the kind of the green rectangle there was added. So we could put our ports on the map. It involved county resolutions, kind of like what we're asking to sign today, you guys to approve today. Or just recognizing state legislation that had been around forever and no one had ever submitted the application to be recognized as a port. So it started out here. The ports of Eastern Iowa and Western Illinois started here. And then when the Quincy, Hannibal, Missouri area found out what we were doing, they said, hey, we want to do the same thing. And then the folks in Peoria said, hey, we want to do the same thing. So we created 3. And then right after that, Minnesota and Wisconsin saw what we were doing and said, hey, that's a great idea. So that northern one is the ports of East, the northern Greenbelt ports is what we refer to them as, but it's centered on La Crosse, Wisconsin, Winona, Minnesota. Next slide. This is just this was another map that was used by the EPA at a conference that I was at. But they were using a pre-2020 map, but you can see there were no ports in the US on the maps that they were using. So these were being used in DC and to inform decision makers. And if you're just not on the map, you don't even get not even considered, so. And our kind of, one of our talking points or themes has always been, you can't invest in a port that doesn't exist, and, we just need to get on the map. And, next slide. So you can see where the port regions that we created align with the corn production, USDA's corn production map. You can't ignore this, at the national level. Next slide. And then this is just another map that shows the corn production by state. So, we are nationally significant for a lot of reasons. And mainly because we're between the number 1 and number 2 corn and soybean producing states in the nation. Next slide. But anyway, these are the 4 port regions. So, overlaid over a county map. So it kind of shows what we're talking about here. So really, we were trying to, we're just trying to get ours recertified. Next slide. So in 2024, I guess it was earlier than that. I'm sorry, it's 2020. This is Dubuque's resolution, but every county passed a resolution like this. Louisa did too, to create the original ports of Eastern Iowa and Western Illinois. Next slide. And then, but here's what happened. So in 2019, we were the 81st largest port in the United States, based on this is like a summary of all of these documents, or a summary produced every year of all the ports in the US. But so in 2019, we were that reporting year, tonnage reporting year, we handled 5 million tons. We're the 81st largest port in the United States. But once we got on the map, and once we got on the list, people started reporting tonnage more accurately. So then you saw a big increase to 3.4 million tons in the next year in 2020, which got us up to where we're the equivalent of the Port of Miami, basically. And then, but then the federal government changed the rules, and this is not if you had a multi-county port, you needed state approval to do that. And so when we started this, we followed the rules. An organization called the U.S. Waterborne Commerce Statistics Center defines port boundaries, and at that time they recognized city, county, and state recognized ports. When we started this effort in the fall of 2019, the Iowa wasn't in place, and so we just said, well, what can we do? And they told us, the federal government, federal agency that we were working with, said, well, you can get counties to voluntarily come together and create a port, and we'll recognize it. So I thought, okay, that's easy. So we did that. But then we just changed the rules a few years later and said, no, if it's a multi-county port, you need state legislation. And so that's what we're doing now. We're the county resolution that you guys are considering. What it does is it brings what we've done in line with the Iowa State Code 28J, which covers port authorities. So we just need to tweak the language in the resolutions a little bit so that it falls under the jurisdiction. We get the state authority necessary to get recertified. There were 7 ports in the United States that were decertified as a result of this rule change. We all knew, we were notified well in advance that this was going to happen. At the time, we just couldn't figure out how to get this Iowa state legislation in place, and or get this legislation that we needed. In Illinois, it was easy because they do things top down. So we just talked to one of the number 2 senator in the Senate, and said, hey, and he was on the Illinois River. His area was on the Illinois River, and the area that he represented. And we just said, hey, we need to change this legislation so this federal government will recognize it. And it was easy. They said, okay, so they just passed. Every single Republican and Democrat in the state of Illinois voted for the legislation, which never ever happens in the state of Illinois. But we kind of figure out how to do it in Iowa, and Iowa's a little different. And the Iowa's kind of a bottoms up state. I mean, it's just, just the way it operates. So what it's really based upon, the counties, it's really based upon the will of the counties. So it's an entirely different government structure, basically, between Illinois and Iowa. So we were trying to work with some of the state senators to put some state legislation in place, and that didn't fly because they were just trying to reduce, the governor's office in particular was trying to reduce the number of boards and commissions and things like that in the state. And it's like, so they were just trying to figure out, okay, what do we do now? You know, there was in 2005, the state passed Iowa, or approved Iowa Code 2018, and it covers port authorities. So we went back to that, and that allows each one of the counties now to sign a resolution to voluntarily come together with other counties in the state that falls under Iowa Code 28J, which gives us the state authority to get recertified as a port. So we just had to find a way to do it. So anyway, next slide. So anyway, we were ranked the 56th largest port in the United States in 2020, and then the other two that we created were ranked at 41 and 42. Our goal is to, of course, get the ports of Eastern Iowa and Western Illinois back up, above 50 is our kind of goal. But still a top 100 port in the United States. And it's, you can see it's about the same size as the Port of Miami right there. But anyway, it was decertified, and we want to, the others two, we're good now. We want to get that Eastern Iowa and Western Illinois back up on the map. Next slide. So, and this is just our team. Dr. Anshu Singh is sitting behind me. Her husband works for John Deere in Quad Cities. She just got her PhD in large river ecosystems. She graduated from India's leading ag university and worked for one of the Chicago Board of Trade in India, working ag commodities. So she's been taught the ag side of things and the business side of things and the environmental side of things. So she's a great person on the team. And then Chris Smith, who's not here, he's a former Army Special Forces guy, just a great guy. He's our director of operations, and he makes things happen. So that's pretty much it. But anyway, the resolution that's in front of you, we tried to take this minimalist government approach, so it's very simple. It basically creates a board based upon the Code 28J guidance, which every county has the board rep. The way it's written is the port can function if 3 contiguous counties sign a resolution, and they've already done that. So we've got Jackson County, Clinton County, Scott County, and Muscatine have already approved it. So the port can now function legally, but we just didn't want to leave anybody out. I know you guys don't have a lot of port infrastructure, but having said that, you got to lock it down, in the county, and then people haul grain up to 3 counties away to the river. In this case, probably Muscatine County, maybe, or even south to yeah. So you're still part of the port region, and that includes rail and road and other things too. So yeah, we just didn't want to leave you out.
Well, that was exactly, because we've been looking at this and talking about this for about 4 years through Southeastern Regional Planning, and it wasn't just based on water when we was talking, it was the rail infrastructures and stuff. And you just said that, and I wanted to make sure that it was still involved, where we could, with the rail picking up an area, if they want to bring an elevator in, it'd be nice to have a terminal where they can load off the,
so
train in.
it supports that, and that's really all our ports are multimodal. To be fair, honest, we don't care. I mean, I formed our ports leadership team. We don't really care whether stuff shipped by rail or water. I mean, a lot of the waterways folks will like for us to say that, but we don't have a favorite, because it reduces transportation costs for farmers. So the more competitive,
It's good for both.
Right, it mitigates the transportation costs, and so reducing the cost just a little bit makes a big difference for farmers in particular. So that's really what we're interested in. But getting the port in place, and now we can go into the U.S. Department of Transportation or the U.S. Department of Agriculture and say, hey, you know, we're the ports of eastern Iowa, you know, and we want this or that, or, you know, whatever, or this is our position, you can start influencing things, because you can't ignore port the size of Port of Miami based on our time, so we just want to get ourselves back in that position.
I've talked to a lot of the counties north of us on a regular basis about this, and they're behind it also. So.
Yeah.
And I think it's a win-win for us bringing opportunities into our county, so.
Well, we think so, and there were several examples of that. For example, the Maritime Administration has never given a port infrastructure development program grant ever in the history of this region until last year, until our ports got more recognized. And so we brought in ports Northeast Missouri, one of the ports there got a $10 million grant, and then 2 in Wisconsin did. We want to start bringing that in, that kind of investment into Iowa, and they'll fund rail and road too. It's just not the water line.
And what kind of things are they funding on that project?
It's a dock improvement primarily in Northeast Missouri, and then just it's a dock wall, a lot of work along there, but there's rail, they can fund rail and road, so in they're expanding a rail facility in they're expanding their dock, but there's some rail improvements in Winona, and then Red Wing got one too. Red Wing, so that, but you can do road, rail, or waterways related infrastructure with those grants. And there's about 7 other Maritime Administration grants that we can get access to. So that's what we want to, just start getting access to. The ports are really catching this for federal dollars. I mean, you can't. And, so if you got a port, it provides an opportunity for our elected officials to bring money back into their congressional district without being an earmark. I mean, these are just taking advantage of the existing programs that are out there that funding is available.
Would this help, 20 years ago, we funded doubling our lock or making our locks bigger. And we're finally starting to work on
Right.
would this help us get money to do that?
Yes,
Because with Panama Canal getting doubled, we need to get our grain to the ocean faster.
Yeah.
If it'd help us there, I mean, that's economic development 101.
Yeah, so 2007, that project was authorized by Congress, but never funded until we created the Corn Belt ports. And then we created the Corn Belt ports, and then soon after that, within 24 months, we got the first lock funding. And I would argue that that ports are really what puts things over the top of the line, over the finish line, to get the first construction dollar for that. And the reason for that was it was very hard for our elected officials to advocate on the Hill with their colleagues that they needed, it came across like a bridge to nowhere. I even went a 1,200 foot lock, or we went 1,200 foot locks in the Mississippi River, and no one could quite, it was difficult for people to grasp the national benefit. But if you say that the 1,200 foot locks on the Mississippi River give us safe, reliable, give our ports in the heart of the Corn Belt safe, reliable access to global markets, that's a different story. And we can never tell that story before because we didn't have ports. So just by having the ports on the map, it provides, it helps us better communicate the need for that kind of investment. But yeah, and also we got to continue, we need more money, we need to fund the other locks too. So
that's what, this can hopefully resolve in time. I mean, we can do it, but we've never again been funded.
Yeah, so getting that was a big, and again, in 2009, during the President Obama's American Recovery and Investment Act, investment in infrastructure, we could have started lock construction at that time, but we didn't. And so now this just helps give us a little bit more, or gives us a little more, I think influence over where federal funding goes like that. So, and I think, Senator, we've got great support from Senator Grassley and Ernst and everyone, you know, and a bipartisan way too, on this effort from the very beginning, so. You know, we're not getting any resistance there at all.
Yeah, the only resistance we had was the language, because we knew that, I think Clinton County, made some changes. I talked to the supervisor there. And just wanted to make sure that our language was right for people of our community. That's why that's only resistance we have, just to make sure what we're signing reflects the best interests of our counties.
And, you know, this is just from my perspective, I grew up in a rural county in central Illinois, and you know, we could have left you off. I mean, we could, you know, because
I'm glad you did.
because the tonnage, you know, I mean, there's not a lot of tonnage shipped out of here, and if you're just focused on the sheer tonnage, both Jackson and Louisa, we're not, you know, they don't make a big difference in the tonnage, but having you provide a board member, I think we think is important, and then there are other aspects that you know, whether it's road and rail, that, you know, that vote's important, at least from our perspective, and so you know, and we think that it, you know, we just think it kind of balances things out too. So we're not having like Scott County, you know, the big population center dominate things either. So it really, we wanted to create something that everybody, an organization that everybody trusts, everybody's behind, and it represents equally all counties in eastern Iowa. So that was kind of, so there was some discussion about, oh, Scott County should have 2 board members because they're larger, and, you know, I mean, not at the board level, but I mean, just, and it's like, now we're just going to focus on river miles, you know, that the county has, and everybody's pretty much equal in that regard, so they all get equal votes. That was kind of our thinking about it.
Well, I don't know if that's,
Attorney must got held up in court.
but I do have his letter. I don't know if you guys seen it or not, that some of the concerns he had was there were some concerns about the language in the resolution. Clinton County approved it with the change made, the resolution effective upon passage of the 3 continuous counties. Jackson and recently Muscatine counties also approved, but the original language, with the original language, Dubuque and Scott County have not approved, but they have just recently. I just read.
Scott County did, and Dubuque's on their agenda, but I've been up there twice. There's no indication that they're not gonna pass it.
Okay, and that's what I kind of get from what I heard also.
We should be the no-shows, not Dubuque and Scott.
And one of them would meet the continuous county requirement, Clinton County resolution. The other 2 counties passed original language with only 3 counties. So 2 of the 3 resolutions are now active. If we approve the resolution, it will become active with Muscatine, Jackson counties. So if we pass the Clinton version, we would be waiting for Scott and Dubuque to approve.
Well, you wouldn't have to wait for, I think that,
That just is.
yeah, and I think the Scott County version, they put the word contiguous counties in there. We didn't have that before. But we've got that now. So we've got, so
we should be good to go. And I think just to keep things moving, we've seen his, if you guys all seen it.
Yeah.
So I think,
I'll make a motion to approve.
okay. Sean, second. Discussion.
You know, I think it's responsible economic development for our county along the river. So that's one discussion I have.
yeah, if I could make I just, you know, this doesn't cost anything.
No.
And then the other thing is you can always back out of it. You can always do a county resolution or you, so there's nothing permanent here. So there's really low risk.
We just made a resolution like this last week for historic development for downtown. So it gets us on the list if there ever is any money for help. So I think it's I'm glad we're.
And I just want to add, like, any grant you are applying for your county, you can always say that you are part of the top 100 US code.
That's a good point. That's beneficial to everybody. Everybody's equal.
Competitive.
Yeah.
Any more discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you for taking time, come down here, explain it, and working toward this, to how kind of help grow Iowa, and hopefully we can be a part of that. So,
And I did this as a volunteer, just so you know, just
I know.
because it's it's the right thing to do, I live in Eastern Iowa now, and it's just, I like for us to be. Yeah, I just don't like for us to be left out, when we want opportunity, be more competitive and compete more effectively against East and West Coast for federal funding that's already out there. We should jump for it,
Adam, I read your response for your
Okay.
opinion, so, because I knew you was running late, I didn't know if you'd be able to come over or not, but I,
Yeah, I originally was going to, but then I saw it wasn't needed, so I didn't.
yeah, that's, we're sorry for the.
We just passed the resolution, Adam.
Okay.
And we went through that's your concerns and some of your had on there, so I spoke for you.
Sounds good, yeah, everything I was gonna say would have been in that, so.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
And, again, congratulations and let's get some work done. huh?
Yeah, it's going to bring some more money into.
Yeah.
it, so.
Thank you all so much. Adam, thank you for coming, sorry.
Before Adam leaves, can we talk about that
What?
service? Before Adam leaves, can we talk about that emergency service tax stuff while he's here?
Yeah, as long as we take no action,
It's on the agenda.
not really.
Is there a cost to this?
No.
It sounds for the county. No. It belongs to this. Oh, yeah. So next time we was a river. How many acres?
Get an opinion.
Nowhere. How many? What's that?
You should get an opinion.
This is something that's gonna be.
Next agenda, and then we can, that kind of brought up to speed what we talked about
You don't ever.
them providing receipts. But we need to make a list of what's acceptable.
Oh, for the.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's do that next meeting.
Sounds
right too. Anytime better than others. Later.
But yeah, any time.
Later?
Yeah, later be better.
Okay.
I'll have some. Before that.
Okay, I'll have Susan do that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
We would like to put Adam on the agenda next meeting to talk about the emergency service tax thing. He needs to be on as late as possible.
Okay.
Because of court.
Okay, I don't think there's any other business brought forth today, so,
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
meetings adjourned. Thank you. Randy, I'm just gonna give you these.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Our committee would like to see those, so thank you.
Sean, can you go over to Selena, she's got some questions on that and stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Are you gonna be supposed to be done in September, Adam said?
Are you gonna get?
The bridge on down by Swanks on 99 is one of the.
We got the bridge over.
I've been sitting there, and you know, that might be a idea where you can pull graders out there and
Go, yeah, there's a large, there's a, well, there might be an opportunity going on with that. I mean, people to get that thing done. So that's an old railroad bridge.
Yeah.
You're, work 1976, there was the.
Your work for what was instead of allowing the park fire equipment up on the highway.
And that part fell in, that's all they cleaned up.
left side of the
That
shop.
What is it?
You didn't want a copy of this.
Worker.
No, the bridge is there from way, way back. to the railroad.
Yeah.
You're on the river, Syracuse.
They were pissed off at me because I made it move the equipment off.
I'd like to come up with an idea for something.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm like,
See you, Bob.
and they're like, well, what happens if somebody drives through the sign and doesn't concrete? I'm like, we go after them, but they don't die.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Alright. Like I said, I didn't really ask about
I
it,
can call
but
her.
I don't know why.
We should have, yeah, no, there's a lot of times we get the movement.
Yeah.
Pull through the property.
No payroll changes?
Just one, my son got a 10-cent raise for longevity.
I signed it, so.
And he got, and as if you notice, he got hired,
about.
he got hired in August and I didn't get elected till
Yeah.
November. He's got more time in than me and.
He's got more money than you too.
Oh, yeah. But,
Let's
see.
Well, I mean, make
Bill Randy-
money that he does.
I've been
He makes
accused.
$28 more.
Yeah, I've
We
been,
get 50 cents.
I've been accused 100 times of hiring. And he got hired
Hello.
before,
Hey,
3 months before I got elected.
Is there a copy of the resolution for the Port Authority? Does she have it? They did.
Okay, read it.